Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Be a Poser. Today we're going into combat with the elite warriors of the Empire. I am of course talking about the Death Trooper 6-scale figure by Hot Toys. Let's get started. Alright, here he is, the Death Trooper 6-scale figure by Hot Toys from the Mandalorian, and he comes with everything he needs to get the job done. He's got this really slick carbine here as well as his sidearm, a wide assortment of hands, and that amazing glossy black armor with a very nice weathered paint job. I can't wait to see what I can do with all this cool stuff, so let's get rolling. Alright, here he is, the Death Trooper 6-scale figure by Hot Toys from the Mandalorian. I am pretty jazzed to have another one of these guys in my hands. I've played with these before in the past, so I'm a little bit familiar with what they're capable of. So let's just go ahead and get, I think for the opener, just a standard combat pose. Obviously there's some housekeeping to do with this. One of the first things you're going to want to do when you get it is to hang the pistol, and you do that by slipping the strap through the trigger guard and just fastening it like that. It's a very simple method of doing so. Don't try to overcomplicate it, it really is that simple. And next step, obviously we need hands that are going to hold the weapon. I'm just going to test this one because I think that this one will do fine. And I don't want to run the risk of damaging this gun. It's a fine looking blaster. Just really, really gently try to fold it over there. Yeah, that looks pretty freaking awesome. Yeah, that's what we want to do. So we're going to use this one. And since I've already got it in his hand, then I'm just going to leave it there. Now that we've got that front gun hand in, I'm going to go ahead and pop this out. So now we've got the relaxed grip hand out of the Death Trooper. Let's go ahead and get that peg into its proper home in this hand. And just looking at it here, I can tell that I'm going to need to swivel this wrist peg up and down to get it right. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate that early on just to make sure that it happens. In fact, I think I'm going to move it a little bit further out. So at a 45-degree angle there, you can move it this way and that way, and that will enable me to have a little bit more play with what I have in mind. Next hand to come out will be this other relaxed grip hand to be replaced by the trigger hand, the right trigger hand. Now, the figure does come with both trigger hands. He's an ambidextrous Death Trooper, or if you buy several Death Troopers and decide to army build, which why wouldn't you? Each Death Trooper can be, you can pick which hand he uses. Now I think this is kind of cool that you can do this. You can just sling this weapon at his side. I'm no combat expert, but I've seen in films when the hero is done emptying a magazine in his carbine, he'll drop that gun to his side and let it hang by the sling and pull out his sidearm and start firing with that. So we're gonna do that for another pose, but I think for this one I do really just want to have him wielding it. Just kind of tell a story. I'll build up towards that. Maybe the last pose will be a dead Death Trooper. Just kidding, I won't do that to you guys. Now I really want to get him, I want that blaster up as much as I can. So I'm just going to raise that shoulder laterally. You can see I've just got a nice solid raise there. Let's rotate this hand around. Oop, pop loose the peg. That's going to happen. Sometimes collisions happen with armor. Don't sweat it. Just something you have to contend with when you're playing with armor. Now the one thing that you do want to do here is rotate this wrist peg. You can see that I popped the forearm armor off of him to better get an angle on this wrist peg to rotate it in the direction that I want it to go. Now to do that, I rotate that wrist peg 90 degrees out, and then I'm able to get more leverage on it, whichever way I decide to rotate it. It is a snug fit in there, guys. So you might have to loosen it up a little bit. Once you've got it kind of where you want it, straighten it back out again, and then drop that armor back to where it's supposed to be. Let's bring that pistol grip back into play and slap that onto the figure. Really got to force that on there just to give yourself enough room to get the hand onto the peg. So don't be shy. I don't think you'll hurt anything. All right, good, we got that. Wow, I should have put this one on the hand first too. Sometimes posers can make mistakes. It's allowed. It's in the bylaws. I think it will benefit you to go ahead and do what I just did and work it on there separately. All right, let's get that done. Bring it up again, because every time I've seen somebody properly shooting a gun, they've got that arm up as high as they can get it because they want to get that butt of that They're right up against him. That extends, by the way. So you can extend that if you so desire. Now let's get this other arm up as much as we can. There we go. All right, now once you get the arm up, then you get a better idea of where the peg needs to be. So this is a slow assembly process, and heavily armored figures like this are just going to work that way. Now we got that up, we can slide that back into its home. Again, being careful to get that fan brace all the way up and pop it in there. So that is where a beginner poser might be tempted to stop, but I think we can refine this and make it better. First of all, you can see that the strap is wanting to pop over here. Now, one way to avoid that is to snake it up under the butt and slide it over his shoulder. And this shoulder does not separate, so you just kind of have to bring it back here and tuck it down and underneath. I got it close enough that it approximates the look of where it's supposed to rest. So now, this is where the fun begins, said Han Solo. We're going to take this helmet and turn it, and we're going to drop it down and give him his business face, okay? I remember when I first got into figure posing, somebody who was in the room with me a lot was like, why does he look so sad? You're hanging his head down. Keep in mind that, and this is something that was really brought into the fore from The Mandalorian, which is what this figure is from. When it comes to the look of something on screen, when you drop the head like this, it creates the appearance of, say, a frown or a scowl or a business face in that helmet. Whereas if it just looks straight on, then he just looks kind of generic. But when you drop that brow, all of a sudden, there's an expression right there. This little part of the helmet around the front, just above the eyes, that kind of serves like the brim of a cowboy hat. It's a classic Western acting technique. So for this, I want to go ahead and raise this up a little bit more. Because again, I just want him to be really, really serious. There's really no need to extend the stock of the weapon. Now I'm gonna really jut his head out there because he's trying to get to the point where he can as close as approximate his line of sight down the barrel of the gun as he can. Let's get that up there again and kind of extend it out just a little bit. You can see how I'm kind of working this hand with this arm with my thumb and this arm with my two fingers. So I think I'm gonna have him just like he's walking forward. There was that bit at the beginning of Rogue One, which I know is a completely different movie, but that's fine, we can play with this. They're just like stalking the homestead of Galen Erso. And I'm not sure if there's an actual technical term for that posture that you see troopers affect when they're moving in a tactical formation through terrain. But I just want to try to approximate that as closely as I can for this opening pose. There are going to be people out there who are going to say, oh, well, that's easy. Well, it's really not, guys. Try to do it. Some people will try to tell you that a pose like this might just be a little bit boring. I can tell you from experience that it couldn't be any further from the truth. There is a menacing quality to a character like the Death Trooper marching towards you in this fashion. And in reality, that was really what Death Troopers bring to the table. There's a menacing quality to them that just makes you realize, okay, the game's afoot. Once more into the breach. I'm just gonna keep breaking out Shakespeare quotes to go with these guys. You can see that I've also switched forward legs because I think having this, the right leg forward for a right-handed warrior just kind of looks cooler. That's a Death Trooper. That is a Death Trooper. God, that's a cool figure. All right. And once you drop him onto the stand, you kind of secure that. You saw earlier that I had him standing that way on his own. But I think just for safety's sake, I'm always going to want to have mine on a stand. And besides, the stands look really cool. There's that very Empire-esque quality to them I just really, really appreciate. That's my Death Trooper pose. When Orson Krennic's squad of Death Troopers perished on the surface of Scarif at the end of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, I think most people thought that we were done seeing them. So when they did show up at the end, during the penultimate episode of the first season of The Mandalorian, I don't know about you guys, but I was giddy. Very excited at the prospects of seeing these menacing characters return to the Star Wars universe. This figure represents them in a really dramatic fashion with excellent weathering and great posability.
Did you enjoy that video? Be sure to subscribe by hitting the S icon on your screen and click the bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under product info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.